We do have a quorum, so I am going to call the Committee on Housing and Homelessness Prevention to order. Welcome, everybody. I am looking forward to today's agenda. We are going to hear from several stakeholder groups related to the housing industry and their presentations giving an overview of the state of housing in Minnesota. And so let's jump right in. The first on the agenda is Mark Foster with Housing First Minnesota. Mr. Foster.
Thank you, Chair Lucero and Chair Port and committee members. I think my presentation might be coming up. Let's see here. There we go. Cool. Thank you, Chair Lucero, Chair Port, for the opportunity to join you here today. My name is Mark Foster. I'm the Vice President of Legislative and Political Affairs with Housing First Minnesota. We're a trade association of nearly 1,000 members of the home building industry that have one goal in mind: advancing home ownership opportunities for all Minnesotans. Our members build the American dream across the state, building thousands of homes each year. Thank you for the opportunity to spend a few minutes with you this afternoon to discuss those home ownership opportunities and how the home building industry is working to meet the needs of Minnesotans. So looking into the new year, our concerns about the future of home ownership in Minnesota continue to grow. As you may be well aware, our housing market is chronically undersupplied, but the demand to own a house remains. Unfortunately, on the regular, home buyers are getting priced out, especially younger buyers. In part, this is causing the national median age of a first-time buyer to hit 38 years old, an all-time high. As it sits today, Minnesota's housing market is far from healthy. So how did we get here? Ever since the Great Housing Depression from 2007 to 2009, we simply haven't built enough homes. As this chart shows, the decade from 2010 to 2019 was far and away the decade with the least amount of housing activity over the past 60 years. But at the same time, our population, and especially household formation, continued to grow as a state and region. Today, statewide, we are nearly 100,000 units short of a healthy housing market. This includes everything: apartments, condos, townhomes, single-family homes. If you're a brown or yellow state on this map, and Minnesota's a brown state, you've got a big problem. And unfortunately, here in Minnesota, our numbers, by many standards, are alarmingly some of the worst in the nation. This chart you see before you is based off the starting point recommended by Governor Dayton's Housing Task Force back in 2018, 300,000 homes by 2030 in order to have a more even supply to demand. In 2021, we actually started to make a slight dent into the deficit. Unfortunately, we lost almost all that progress from 2022 to 2024, in large part to rising interest rates. And now our deficit is larger than when we started in 2018. And the homes that we do build are unattainable for too many. The median new single-family detached house has now gone north of $530,000 in the state. This map shows the median price of a new home in Minnesota and all of our surrounding neighbors. As you can see, the median price in Minnesota is nearly $100,000 more than all of our competitors. Housing is very much an economic competitiveness issue, and Minnesota is losing. Just as recently as 2020, nearly 50% of MSP households could afford a new house, with a rolling 20-year average at 45%. This chart shows that today, only 27% of MSP households can afford to buy a new home. Part of that is stubbornly high interest rates, and obviously this committee has no control over those. But I'll get into what else stands in our way. In this chart, you want as much red and gray as possible, as those homes built are under $450,000. As you can see, we're losing to our Midwest peers, Chicago, Indianapolis, others, by quite a bit. Similarly, in this chart, you want to be as far to the left as possible, as it shows market share under $300,000. The Minneapolis-St. Paul MSA ranks with the likes of the cities more on the coast. So at this point, you might be wondering why a spokesperson for the housing industry is explaining how expensive their product has become. It's simple, really. It's because it doesn't have to be this way. Our industry has been raising supply and affordability concerns for nearly a decade, but the desperately needed policy solutions that have been proposed have yet to be enacted. It's because our industry is seriously concerned about the state of the housing market, the state of home ownership, and the future of Minnesota. Housing affordability is quickly becoming the issue of our time. Of course, there are many factors that contribute to the cost of a new home: land, building materials, labor, and most notably, laws and regulatory requirements. Our members work through these dynamics every day in order to bring more housing online, but it isn't easy and continues to get more difficult. Despite that, we are attempting to meet consumers where they are. In many instances, they continue to call for greater density, smaller homes on smaller lots, less demand for garage space. While not all consumers are asking for these items, there is a growing segment of first-time buyers, single people, and downsizers that are. And of course, with the new work-from-home world, consumers' demands are changing. We know that the housing supply issue will not solve itself. Homes simply do not just appear, and we remain committed for the long term. So this is obviously a topic that's gained intense coverage in the past few years all over the country. This slide has something for everyone: Republican governors, Democrat governors, all with a very similar message: remove exclusionary roadblocks to allow for the creation of more housing supply. All of these governors have concluded that housing supply and housing affordability is an issue that their state legislatures and executive branches must address. Yielding to local governments alone to fix the issue is not working in these states either. Finally, we are dedicated to continuing to build the safest, most durable, and energy-efficient homes in the country. We always protect the environment. The industry is proud to pay good wages. All of these are guiding principles for our members. As I mentioned earlier, we are committed to providing consumers with more choice. There's a massive market for starter homes, modest homes with functional space on small lots. Homeowners know how large they want their garage to be. Homeowners know how many trees they want in their yard. Homeowners know whether or not they need upgraded stone exteriors for their home. Unfortunately, many policies in Minnesota's growing cities do not allow for this type of homeowner choice. As I continue to talk, I want to briefly show you examples of starter homes, primarily from other parts of the country. There was a time post-World War II when a small home on a small lot was the centerpiece of the American dream. Back then, we couldn't build them fast enough. There are many examples of these neighborhoods in parts of St. Paul, Minneapolis, and the surrounding first ring suburbs. As we built, we saw families grow and flourish, generational wealth created, and communities strengthened. Home ownership in a safe, durable home was the goal then. Unfortunately, somehow we lost our way on that simple foundational premise. In 2025, we find ourselves again in this position where recommitting to building starter homes can help our communities flourish and meet the demand for housing. So a prime example of these homes built on a smaller lot is this home in North St. Paul. This was built by the Housing First Minnesota Foundation with our build partners Lennar and MacV. That's part of our work to end homelessness in Minnesota. Built in 2020, this building now serves as a transitional home for homeless veterans. This home is illegal to build in most growing cities. Let me repeat that. This house is illegal to build without asking for variances that can dramatically increase the price of a house. And if I could pivot right there just for a quick moment, if this committee does one thing this year that would make a substantial difference, it would be to fix the way residential development processes are approved. In far too many instances, we are essentially buying zoning. Very few projects can meet the criteria that municipal governments lay out as base level zoning. So roughly 70 to 80% of new housing in Minnesota is negotiated by planned unit development. And every time that PUDs are involved, the housing gets more expensive. Once again, this is unique to Minnesota. Yesterday's housing policies do not meet today's housing needs. So quickly back to the foundation. Since 2017, we've worked with our build partners to build 15 Housing for Heroes projects, our latest home to be completed this year. And this work has led to start development on the first ever multi-unit complex, Veteran Village, which you see before you in the city of Eagan, with our partners MacV and build partner Lennar. So this innovative project will provide stable long-term housing paired with ongoing support services for veterans facing significant barriers to housing stability. And hopefully by the end of the year, provide an effective end to veteran homelessness in Minnesota. So this work is having a truly huge impact for hundreds of Minnesotans. And I just, in your packet, and just a few more slides, just want to show you the work being done throughout the state, either right near some of your districts or within your districts. This project in St. Paul, another Housing for Heroes home down in Winnebago, more for veterans. I skipped one. Ham Lake out there, construction project with for young single mothers and children in crisis. And then out in Chanhassen, a 9-bedroom youth crisis shelter. So these are projects that are being done across the state. We wish there were more units for some of these, but we lose units when we're coming forward with these projects, and it's unfortunately just not as much as what we would like to come forward with. So in conclusion, Chair Port and Chair Lucero, Minnesota's housing market is dramatically undersupplied. We are losing to our neighbors on a number of fronts, but especially on affordability. There is no debate that status quo housing policies are not working, and for the sake of the next generation of homebuyers, we need to remove exclusionary roadblocks and outdated housing policies, and we need your help doing it. So thank you for the opportunity to address the committee, and we look forward to working with you all this session to address our housing supply and affordability issues and say yes to more homes.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. Did we have any questions? Okay, I see Senator Housley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just be quick, and thank you, Mr. Foster, for that presentation. In your starter home examples, I grew up in a house that looked exactly like that in South St. Paul, and some of those friends I grew up with are still my best friends today. But you said a couple of slides later when you were talking about the house that would be illegal to build now because of the variances you have to get, and you said the #1 priority for this committee you think should be to fix the, and can you finish what you said because it went really fast, fix the way the residential process? Yeah,
so, sorry, Senator.
Mr. Foster.
Chair and Senator Housley, yeah, it's a good question. Like I briefly mentioned, and happy to dive into the weeds once we start hearing bills here, but today when we can almost in no circumstances, very few, can we meet what base level zoning is in most growing cities. So today we do almost all residential development processes by planned unit development, PUD, and that becomes a negotiation between the builders and developers and the cities. And that's where we start to lose affordability. That's where we run into extra mandates, whether it's a 3-car garage, an aesthetic mandate, you name it, less density. And in almost all circumstances, the price of housing goes up. We lose housing supply and the like. So hopefully that helps answer your question.
Yes, thank you. I just want to make sure that it got highlighted. Thank you.
Thank you again, Mr. Foster. Members, are there any other questions? See none. Thank you again. And the next testifier or presenter on our list is Elizabeth Wafel from the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities. Mr. Wafel, please introduce yourself for the record and go ahead.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Chair Lucero, Chair Port, and members of the committee. My name is Elizabeth Wafel. I'm a shareholder at Flaherty and Hood, and I'm here on behalf of the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities. The CGMC is an organization of more than 100 cities located outside the metropolitan area, from across the state, from La Crescent to Ely, to Thief River Falls, to Fairmont, and more. Every corner of the state, Moorhead and Mankato are our largest, Nashwauk and Keewatin are our smallest. I started working with the CGMC about 15 years ago, and honestly, housing was not a priority area we worked on. But with the housing crisis that loomed, it quickly became a top priority and continues to be one for us today. And so I just want to start out by thanking the Housing Committee for the significant amount of funding that was provided and dedicated to housing in 2023. We appreciate that this has been a priority over the years. With respect to housing, I also want to say that it's really important for us to ensure that our work as an organization continues to align with the experiences of our members. So this past summer, we surveyed our members on housing. What are they experiencing? What are they doing? And what do they need? My remarks reflect what we have learned as well as ongoing conversations with our members. My remarks are going to focus on three things: the challenges we face in Greater Minnesota, the actions that cities are taking, and the assistance that we need. First off, I want to talk about the challenges we face. In your packet, there should be a handout from the Coalition and from the Greater Minnesota Partnership that identifies the biggest challenges that we face as explained by our cities. And the biggest challenge that we are all facing is that, except with very, very few exceptions in Greater Minnesota, it costs more to build a unit of housing, whether that be a single-family house, a duplex, multifamily building, whatever, than it can be sold for or rented for in the case of apartments. Labor costs, supply costs, and interest rates have all increased, which adds to the cost of construction. But another big factor is that it's very difficult to attract developers to build in their cities, because these developers can earn a lot more building in the Twin Cities metropolitan area or in the very largest cities out there. For many developers, it makes much more economic sense to build where they can do multiple projects, not just the occasional project where they'll need to house their employees temporarily and often transport supplies and equipment. This means it can cost more to build the same type of development in Greater Minnesota than it does in the metropolitan area. And again, you can't rent or sell for the same cost. My colleague Dariel, just before this meeting, was talking to somebody from DigiKey, which you may know is a big company up in Thief River Falls. They wanted to expand out there, but there wasn't enough housing. They tried to get developers interested in building more housing. They weren't able to. So you know where they built? They built in North Dakota. Again, facing challenges that we don't want to be seeing. So that's number one. Lack of developers, very much a top need. Another important need is infrastructure to support housing. Many of our cities report that they have the land available to build housing, but not the infrastructure, not roads, water, sewers, other utilities needed to support new units. Although it may be common in the metropolitan area for developers to pay the cost of such infrastructure, this doesn't happen in most Greater Minnesota cities, partly because it would add so much to the cost of finished projects. And even in larger cities where developers may pay some of that, the components have gone up so much that it's hampering construction. Again, want to thank the legislature the last 2 years for passing the Greater Minnesota Infrastructure Program, but as you may know, it hasn't rolled out, and that's a big challenge. Finally, just something I also want to point out is the gap in the continuum of housing. It just becomes sort of a self-reinforcing circle. The cities of Greater Minnesota are wonderful places to live, as you may know. I'd encourage all of you to think about it as you're looking for your next move. But there's a gap in the housing continuum, particularly in the starter workforce housing that Mr. Foster was just talking about, and then in senior housing. And these gaps really compound the overall housing problem, because you've got folks who would like to move out of their house, that would make a great starter home for someone, but they don't have anywhere to move on their next journey. And that's just something we need to continue talking about. Now, I want to talk about what our cities are doing. We're not just sitting back and waiting to be rescued. Obviously, we do ask for some help, but they're also doing a lot on their own. And they're actively seeking out and implementing creative solutions to tackle these challenges. The first thing I want to point out is that our cities put their skin in the game. Our cities are investing time, money, property, and other resources. In this survey, we asked what you did, and virtually every city had done something. It could be grants or loans to developers. Some are waiving fees. Others are donating or swapping out land so that development can happen. Some cities are using tax increment finance or tax abatement to kickstart the funding, or providing support through their housing trust fund. And believe me, a lot of cities are doing a lot of those things. But across the board, where housing is getting built, it's getting done in Greater Minnesota because our cities are stepping up to help. They're also engaging in partnerships, again, working with developers, working with nonprofits, foundations, counties, private industry, and more to make housing happening. They're not doing it on their own. They are actively seeking out solutions. And the final thing I want to point out is that they are rethinking and revising how they approach land use and related requirements. Now, I think you just heard from one testifier about the need for cities to update their zoning codes and more, but I want to point out our cities have been stepping up to the plate. At least half of our respondents have updated or are in the process of updating their zoning and other related codes. They've updated parking requirements to make them smaller, narrowed lot sizes, increased densities, allowed for ADUs, gotten creative in a lot of other ways to build more housing. What's most important and notable about it is that they're tailoring it in a way to meet their city's needs, their unique geography, their unique infrastructure, their unique workforce. And they've invested money to do so. I'm just gonna give one example. Earlier this fall, I got a call from one of my cities that was like, we're in the middle of doing a new zoning and land use plan with our county. And we're gonna be completely redoing our land use planning to increase housing, do more density, and we're spending $500,000 to do it. They called me because they were worried about it, because they're like, we don't wanna finish this and have things change on it. But I want you to pay attention to the important part there, that they are stepping up, and they are doing this. They're doing this across the state. So then the next question becomes, what do our cities need? And the other question is, can I figure out which page it is here? Okay, first thing, and again, you probably know this, but I'm gonna repeat it for the people in the back. Funds need to get rolled out faster. I can't thank you enough. This is how much I appreciate it. I think this is my third thank you for the $1 billion to support housing that the legislature passed, but it's been a slow rollout. That Greater Minnesota Housing Infrastructure Grant Program provided a small amount of much needed infrastructure, but it still hasn't rolled out 2 years later. You talk to your cities, they want this, they need this, let's just get it rolled out. And on that note, we'd like you to continue investing in those things. I know the wallet is gonna be tight this year. It's gonna be hard, but these are really important programs, and let me tell you, if we can get them going, it's gonna be exciting. And then finally, there are some policy changes that we'd like to see made. You'll be seeing my colleague Dariel Dannon coming around with some bills talking to you about making some changes to the state housing tax credit and housing TIF requirements so they're easier to use. We're working with the league, other city groups to make these changes happen. Then finally, I just want to close on what we'd rather not have. And that would be trying to impose zoning changes and other things that don't make sense for Greater Minnesota. If you can't attract a housing developer, or the finished product is going to cost you $100,000 to $200,000 more than your residents can afford, changing zoning and things like that isn't going to make it better, but it could add a lot of expenses, especially if you've just redone your zoning code. Increasing density, can help, but it needs to be tailored to the unique geography, geology, infrastructure, and more of that community. If we want to increase housing in Greater Minnesota, let's tackle the problems and work together on how we can get this done. I heard the previous testifier talk about the need for starter homes. And so I want to, close with one example. Wade Park, for example, is a city, it's actually Senator Putnam's district. They would love to see more starter homes. One of the challenges they're facing is that so much of their land, they've almost got too much land in multifamily, that they've got a lot of rentals. There are more than 50% rentals. They'd like to see starter homes. So what they're going to need is going to be a lot different than, say, Roseau, who can't get a developer to come up there. So there are just a lot of unique challenges out there. We'd love to work with you, continue the dialogue on these issues. And I'll just close out with a fourth thank you. Again, thank you for that 2023 bill, and let's keep that going. So, thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Wafel, and we very much appreciate the voices and the perspective that you're adding from Greater Minnesota. We absolutely know that there are different, there's certainly a housing challenge statewide, but the details of those challenges are certainly different in different parts of the state. And the solutions are going to be slightly different in different parts of the state. So thank you so much for that. Members, any questions? I do know that Chair Port had a question.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, Ms. Wafel. And I want to start by touching on the Greater Minnesota Infrastructure Program. It is one of the programs I was most excited that we passed in 2023. I share your frustration at how long it has taken to roll out. But I will note that as we sort of have begun thinking about our priorities for next year, continuing to invest in that program, it has remained at the top of my priorities, because it is decades and decades of disinvestment in Greater Minnesota, particularly around infrastructure, that we have to rectify, and it cannot just be left on the backs of the cities. So I appreciate you continuing to champion that program. I think it's going to be a great program when it gets up and running. I also want to, thank you and Darielle for your commitment over the last 6 months or so as we have continued to have conversations about how to move forward with land use and zoning reform at the state level that understands the complexities of the state. I think Greater Minnesota is a really unique place, and we need to understand what is happening in those cities. And I as you were talking about the things that those cities are doing, I think it's been really helpful for us to learn about those, to see what cities are finding helpful and what is actually becoming useful in different parts of the country. And so, just appreciate you continuing to be a part of those conversations and making sure that Greater Minnesota cities have a voice at the table. And then, finally, I think the developers question in Greater Minnesota is one we do have to solve for. It is a very real challenge. And talking to some of the developers who have chosen to build in North and South Dakota over the last several years, there's been a lot of different reasons. But one of them has been that they know what they're getting in North and South Dakota. The sort of requirements are simpler. They're more even across the board, and that is both on regulatory, it is also on zoning, it is at the city level, it is at the state level, and it's something that we need to look at the complexity of and figure out why folks are choosing to go to other states rather than to stay right here in Minnesota. So appreciate all of your continued partnership with the committee and look forward to keeping that going.
Thank you.
Next on my list, I have Senator Draheim.
Sorry.
Ms. Wafel, Senator Draheim had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nope,
I
that's
said
fine.
next on your list, I'm just, I'm sorry about that.
Senators can be on the list too. So. My question has to do with the grants. Do you have an idea when the grant program will be rolled out, or what you've been told?
Can I phone a friend? Darielle's pointing at somebody, but could I ask that Darielle Dannon come up to the table and help me out on this? Thanks, Ms. Wave. Yeah.
Thank you for joining the Phone a Friend. Please identify yourself for the record and I guess help answer the question.
Happy to, Chair. Thank you. My name is Darielle Dannon, and one of the roles I serve as the Executive Director of the Greater Minnesota Partnership. So thank you. I was pointing at our friends at Minnesota Housing, but I'll do my best to help answer. And we've had numerous conversations about this program, as you can imagine, with many of you, but also with our friends at Minnesota Housing as well. And it does sound like they plan to release the RFP this quarter. And I do just want to acknowledge they've hired staff, they have put out a manual, and they have done a webinar to walk folks through the program particulars. I think we're just concerned because when an RFP goes out kind of Q1, that means then the agency has to collect the responses, score those responses, and then it's going to be quite a delay. Certainly they can correct me, but I would anticipate at least 6 months delay between the RFP responses and then actually awarding the funding. And then, of course, there'll be a bit of a further delay to get those under contract. So it really does put us at we, of course, have winter here in Minnesota, and that really does put the development at quite a delay. So we continue to have concerns that it's probably at least 2 years after the funding got awarded before we even know what projects get awarded funding.
Follow up?
Thank you, Chair. And thank you. And that was my concern, is the timing. I think we're all disappointed in the time frame on that, and I'm sure we'll have further discussions with the agency on that. But that was my exact thought, is we'd miss the building season for this year and have to push it out into 2026, so 3 years after it was passed. So that's all I had, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. And, while we're phoning, if I see there's the department, if you want to come up, it might be appropriate at this time to perhaps answer your perspective or thoughts on some of these programs.
Can I stand up?
Sure, go ahead, Ms. Wayfield. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I'm Dan Kitzberg. I'm the Legislative Director at Minnesota Housing. Yeah, I've just been following the conversation here. Ms. Dannon's correct. We are looking at Q1 to release the RFP. Probably having it open for about 60 days is typically what we target to make sure we've had adequate time for response, and then also for technical assistance, since we are anticipating questions being a new program that the agency has stood up. And as you may remember back to the 2023 legislative session, the outcome of that was more than $1 billion invested across programs. This has resulted in a doubling of the number of programs that the agency normally administers in a given year. Along with that came the need to prioritize and the need to hire staff and build out the infrastructure. So as you may remember from the commissioner's presentation last week, we actually had to build out an entire new team to administer this program along with other programs. So we've done that. We've held over 50 stakeholder meetings with interested parties for these new programs, the local government programs that go along with the Greater Minnesota Infrastructure Program. So local affordable housing aid, statewide affordable housing aid, the Bring It Home Rental Assistance Program, all new activities for the agency. And so we understand the frustration. We've been meeting with our partners in the community to better learn about how to make sure that we get this right the first time that we roll it out, demonstrate results, and then hopefully continue to invest in it.
Thank you. And could you, it may have been already stated, but if you could say it again, if the RFP is going to be released, and I think you said it'd be roughly a 60-day window that it would be open, from the time it closes, what was the time that you expect then to make awards?
We would, Mr. Chair and members, we would anticipate awards likely in the late summer, early fall.
Okay, and so part of the concern then, if awards are going to be, let's say, the fall timeframe, that's going to be near the closing of the building season. So then, we get into shortly thereafter frost and other challenges when it comes to building in Minnesota. So there's a very likely scenario that some of the awards may not be able to go into effect until springtime of 26. So there is a lot of frustration, and so I appreciate your continued attention on this, and definitely we have a much smaller building window in Minnesota, as you know.
Right. Mr. Chair and members, if I might, I would just note that this is an infrastructure program. This program will not result directly. We aren't financing housing specifically with this program. And so while our hope is that we will receive applications that have, quote unquote, shovel-ready housing projects associated with them, this is to put in place the infrastructure in order to build out more housing in communities. And so understanding that timeline is probably working, or the construction season, it is applicable to infrastructure as well. We do need those housing projects to be ready, identified, along with the infrastructure that will go along with them.
Well, and I appreciate that clarification. And I guess the point I was trying to make was, or highlight anyway, was even infrastructure, much of it is going to require moving of dirt and below grade. And when you have a frost line, putting in infrastructure, burying of whatever it might be, becomes a challenge, and it's more expensive when you're having to break through that frost line. So again, thank you for that. And thank you, Ms. Wafel, for your presentation and testimony. And so we'll move on down the list here to Mr. Egger with the Minnesota Realtors. And if you could just identify yourself for the record and share your presentation with us.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Chair Port, my name is Paul Egger. I'm Senior Vice President of Governmental Affairs for the Minnesota Realtors, and just getting my laptop up and running, and hopefully you have a copy of the slides. It might be easier to follow along on the hard copy version. Mr. Chair, just a little bit about our organization. Minnesota Realtors is a business trade association. We have approximately 22,000 members who are real estate professionals. that live in districts all over the state and work with buyers and sellers of all types of property every day. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today. Really appreciate the topic and the testimony you've heard thus far, and I'm eager to hear the testimony that remains on your agenda today. I'm going to start with takeaways first today, Mr. Chair. Minnesota's housing supply is not meeting demand. This is a theme that you heard from Mr. Foster, and I'm sure you're going to hear from others throughout the afternoon, and one that we appreciate this committee and the legislature's attention to over the past couple of years, and we look forward to working with you moving forward. And this inadequate supply to meet demand increases the cost of housing, decreases affordability, and especially acute for first-time and first-generation home buyers. And I have a little bit of data on that later in my presentation. And removing barriers to building more homes, particularly at the most affordable price points, to increase supply and affordability needs to be a top priority for the legislature this session. So, Mr. Chair, I just want to start with the supply issue, and Mr. Foster touched on some of this information with new construction, and our Director of Research had some really good information on the existing home market that I wanted to bring to you today. So when we talk about housing supply, just a couple of key metrics to think about. One is month's supply of inventory. So that's the inventory of homes for sale at the end of a given month divided by the average monthly pending sales for 12 months. And then the number or the inventory of homes for sale, which is the number of properties for sale at the end of a given month. And so just understanding what month supply means. So if you have a seller's market, that means you have lowest supply and high demand. That's less than 5 months supply of inventory. In a buyer's market, that means you have high supply, low demand. That's more than 6 months supply of inventory. And if we're in a balanced market, that's roughly 5 to 6 months supply, and then neither side has a market advantage. So that's really what we're shooting for, is to have a market that has a balanced supply of housing. So this is a slide that shows the downward trajectory of month supply of inventory over a period of years, and you'll see that it's been 13 years since Minnesota ended the year with a balanced market. And then if you look at the number of homes for sale, at the end of December, we had less than half the homes available that we had 10 years ago. Obviously, we've had a growing population over this time. You can see the trend line is not heading in the positive direction. Inventory by price range, this is actually a Twin Cities Metro statistic. But you can see where those lines cross at the right end of the screen. That's showing that there's more inventory at the $500,000 and above price point than the lower, more affordable price points. And that's an inflection point we hadn't seen before. It's a significant data point that our research director likes to call out for any audience he's talking to about what's going on in our housing market. And then it wouldn't be a discussion about the market without talking about interest rates. And something interesting here, this is actually national data, and just kind of a couple of staggering numbers here. And one is roughly 71% of outstanding mortgages nationwide are 4% or lower. And over 90% have a mortgage of 5% or lower. Now think about where mortgage rates are right now, roughly 7%. I think projections for the next year are pretty conservatively estimating that we may see 6.5 or so, but interest rates are going to be higher than most people have secured for their mortgage rate. And it's really tough to ask people to trade in a 3% rate for 7% and a more expensive home. So the interest rate environment is a challenge most certainly right now. And then this is a slide that shows closed sales, and just something to point out that while closed sales were up in 2024, a little over 1%, that's over 2023. And if you take a closer look at 2023, that was actually a drop of 16.5% over the year before. And so if you're kind of looking at the period of years that led into COVID, you're looking at roughly 85,000 closed sales 86,000 closed sales in a typical year. So we're quite a ways off, and I think the demand is certainly there, but the supply is not able to meet that demand right now. And so all of these issues and more lead to affordability challenges. And one of the metrics that we use to measure affordability is the Housing Affordability Index. And before I put the slide up with that data, just what you're going to see is with the HAI, a value of 100 means that a family with a median income has exactly enough income to qualify for a mortgage on a median priced home. And then just something to keep in mind, that assumes a 20% down payment, which can be difficult for a lot of families to come up with, but that's the assumption of the index. And keeping in mind also a value below 100 indicates that a family earning the median area income does not have enough income to qualify for a mortgage on a median priced home. So just keep in mind, high numbers are good when it comes to the Housing Affordability Index. And so this is the data over the last, dating back to 2005. You can see on the far right side, we ended 2024 with an index of 93. The year before, 2023, was 98. Those are the only years we've ended the year with that number being below 100, meaning a household with a median income cannot afford a mortgage to qualify for a mortgage on a median price home. That's a problem. That's a real warning sign that we're having trouble meeting the demand for median price homes in the state. This is also a data point that is really staggering when you take a second to absorb it. You can see on the far right 2024 year to date, monthly PITI payment on a median priced home is up to over $2,500 a month. If you look back just a couple of years, it was $1,500 a month, $1,583. It's an increase of over $1,000 a month in a period of just a few years. That's certainly stretching family budgets, and there's a lot that goes into that number. Obviously, it's not just a mortgage number. You're talking about property taxes, insurance, but that is certainly straining family budgets. And we've seen trend lines going downward in the wrong direction. This is one that's actually going upward in a bit of a concerning direction too. This is the data on the median sales price of a home dating back to 2005. And you can see that we ended 2024 statewide median priced home, $345,000. If you look back just 10 years, $180,000 was the median sales price. So almost a doubling in the last 10 years. And then this is a slide, this is Twin Cities, so the last data on the last slide was statewide. This is some Twin Cities region data. The percent of sales under 300,000, and again, you can see the trend line here. The percentage is decreasing pretty rapidly over recent years. Steep drop in sales under 300,000 over the past 10 years, and these are your starter homes that Mr. Foster was talking about. $300,000, 300,000 and below. And then, Mr. Chair, members, this is data from the National Association of Realtors. This is the percent of buyers that are first-time home buyers. And our National Association has been tracking this data back to 1981, so you see the full data set on this slide. And 2024, we saw 24% of buyers were first-time buyers. This is the lowest percentage of first-time buyers since tracking of this data point began in 1981. That is a concern. And then finally, Mr. Chair, Chair, members of the committee, just want to finish with a slide that shows Minnesota's home ownership gap. This is a topic that this committee has talked about over the past couple of years. In 2023, you passed first-generation home buyer down payment assistance. Certainly, the focus on supply, housing supply, and affordability will be important to addressing the home ownership gap. but there will always be a need for assistance, particularly for first-time buyers, first-generation buyers. And look forward to having that discussion with the legislature this year. You'll see proposals coming forward to implement the first-generation home buyer down payment assistance program in the budget on an ongoing basis. And just want to thank you for your time today. Thank you for the discussion that you've had over the past couple of years, and thank you for the discussion that you're about to have. We look forward to partnering with legislators on from both parties and stakeholders on all sides of this topic moving forward, and are here to help in any way we can with any information or data that you may need along the way. So with that, Mr. Chair, thank you for the time today.
Thank you, Mr. Egger. So, as somebody who hates aerobic exercise like myself, I try to do what I can to listen to inspiring or something to distract me from the aerobic exercise. And among those efforts is to listen to real estate podcasts, or in my case, as a talk radio fan, on Saturday mornings, there's many real estate talk radio programs that I listen to while I'm trying to do my aerobic exercise. And for years now, I've been listening to many of the metrics that you've been citing in here, such as the days on market, such as the amount of inventory, and all these. And for years now, we've been looking forward for a more balanced market. It hasn't come yet in a number of years. And when you cite that the median income family is unable to afford a median income priced home, that is startling, shocking, and it should be red flags across the board on where we're headed. Now, certainly interest rates are not, many of us have hoped that interest rates would come down, but as we project into 2025, I've been listening to a lot of different experts, and everybody has an opinion, but I don't think anybody is forecasting that we're going to see a significant drop even throughout the entire year. When you add on top of that the continued insurance, so PITI, the principal and interest rate, obviously, adding in the insurance that we continue to see strains, and then the taxes, the property taxes, which continue to create pressure, it is not going in a good direction. And it is all hands on deck for what we can do to come up with some solutions. And I think it really is, given that some of those variables we do not have control over, doing what we can to increase the supply. The supply of housing is, in my opinion at least, the number one thing we can do to help bring some relief to some of these pressure points. So again, thank you, members. Any questions for Mr. Edgar? Well, thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
Next on the agenda is Mr. Smith from the Minnesota Multi-Housing Association. If Mr. Smith can come forward.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, he's online. Oh, I did not get that. Okay, you are remote, so please proceed, Mr. Smith, after giving us your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Cecil Smith, Minnesota Multi-Housing Association. I'm hoping that my deck will show here for you. Can staff advise me if I need to? Let's try this. All right. I'll proceed, Mr. Chair. Thank you for having me today. Again, Cecil Smith, President and CEO of the Minnesota Multi-Housing Association. I apologize I can't be with you. I'm actually at our national meeting where I can share with you in a moment some of the things that we are hearing. Obviously, the news this morning about federal action, executive order suspending all grants, including things to grants made for housing and homelessness, is very concerning and a subject that everybody here is trying to understand. But I want to proceed with talking to you about what we're facing in our industry so that you can understand locally what is happening in the rental housing market. First, a word about MHA. We are here to serve our members and their customers, who are the renters of Minnesota, in advocacy, education, information, and innovation. We have 2,200 members who manage, own 320,000 rental homes in Minnesota, representing approximately half the rental housing market in the state of Minnesota. We published in 2022 this magazine cover regarding the state of property management, and I want to focus a little bit here on operations before we talk about development and supply. And it's still stormy over 2 years later, and there's no signs of clearing. In fact, there's some serious headwinds which I'm going to discuss with you. Public safety, taxes, insurance, inflation, regulations, and undersupply. But there is some good news, and even today, some of this good news is attracting investor attention nationally. Firstly, to talk about public safety, which post the murder of George Floyd, we saw a very dramatic increase in public safety challenges across our state, especially in the metro area, and that has been felt acutely in rental housing. And this has caused a dramatic increase in security budgets. It is not unusual now for management companies to employ security staff, and this is very expensive. It certainly has created a headwind on housing affordability in the rental market. And it's not across the board. There are specific sub-market challenges where this is happening. But it's also, what's often lost in this story is the stress that has put on our frontline staff and the threats that they have faced, and even the death of one of our colleagues in an incident directly related to the performance of her duties as a property manager. Another headwind is property taxes. This is from the Minnesota Department of Revenue, and it shows that from 2016 to 2022, the effective market value shift was onto apartments. And in 2023, we don't have the 2024 numbers yet, but in 2023 was the first year in that period where we weren't the leading sector for growth in property taxes. This shows you the chart over time. We now pay over $1 billion of property taxes as an industry in Minnesota, and our share of property taxes has continued to increase. That's partially as a result of increased inventory, increased valuations, and decreased valuations in other relative decreased valuations in other property tax classes. But this, of course, affects housing affordability as these taxes have grown. One issue that has really challenged our industry is insurance. And if you look at this chart, this is the per unit cost of insurance. We've now crossed an average per unit insurance cost of over $500, and that's up from under $300 in 2016. So that's over $200 of costs per unit annualized. And we have seen double-digit increases year after year after year. And again, straining housing affordability because these costs have to be either passed on or absorbed. And generally, they are being absorbed because if you look at the rent growth numbers, which I'll show you in a moment, we're absorbing most of these costs, and that's having an effect on our housing stock. Why are these insurance increases coming? Well, this is the chart that shows the billion-dollar storms and how the increased frequency of these billion-dollar losses just continues to grow year after year. And of course, most recently, we've now just had these catastrophic LA fires, which is unimaginable in terms of the losses. In 2023, when you look at where these losses were occurring, it's right across the middle of the country here with these storm losses, and we had one of them on August 11th. I had 3 vehicles damaged in that storm, tens of thousands of dollars of losses just on vehicles, let alone structural damage at one of my buildings, and contributed to $1 billion loss in Minnesota, which is then reflected in insurance premiums. How are we handling this? How are we absorbing this? Well, we're accepting larger deductibles, and that means that we're carrying more risk on our balance sheets, and that destabilizes housing in the long term when, if we were to get one of these major storms, the properties themselves would have to absorb more of the share of the losses than their insurance provider. Do we have a solution for this? Nothing has emerged yet. This is a national challenge. There are markets where it's almost impossible to get insurance now, other than going to a state program, which may or may not exist, to get insurance. And of course, this carries on into challenges in financing real estate development, because you need to have insurance in order to carry debt against the property. Inflation has been another big headwind for our industry. I've already mentioned property taxes and insurance that have contributed to inflationary effects in housing. I'll show you a slide in a moment about the great story of wage growth, but that wage growth also affects our industry in terms of inflationary costs, because we employ a lot of people to serve the residents and to maintain the properties that we own and manage, and so employee compensation has contributed. We also have a run-up in utility costs. There are municipal utilities, as well as our large providers of Xcel Energy and Centerpoint, but even trash recycling costs have seen double-digit growth. And then the things that make housing work, with materials and appliances, have all seen that. We've all experienced that if we've tried to replace an appliance in our home recently, the run-up in costs. Regulations are another headwind for our industry. Regulations add costs, both on the development and on the operations side, and that affects housing affordability. Rent control in our market, St. Paul specifically, is a big headwind for our market. At this national meeting, I've already been approached today to talk about St. Paul and rent control. It deters investment in our state, and that deters adding to the housing supply. There is inclusionary zoning. There is inclusionary zoning that is subsidized and supported, and then there is inclusionary zoning that adds costs and deters development. We still have a CARES Act 30-day notice, tenant protection ordinances in Minneapolis, Brooklyn Center, St. Louis Park that have negative effects on operations. And then over the last biennium, we added 25 substantial new 504B changes, which just the implementation alone adds costs in terms of training, legal engagement to rewrite leases and change forms, and to train all of our partners on compliance. In development, National Multi-Housing Council, National Association of Home Builders have done an analysis, and 40% of the cost of multifamily development can be attributed to regulations. Some necessary, but some that have just continued to grow. For instance, a quarter of this is attributed just to building code changes in the last 10 years. Our other big headwind, which Mr. Chair, I know you're very focused on the conversation around increased supply. We are an undersupplied market, up for growth. Their numbers show that a mild improvement in our undersupply between 2019 and 2022, but overall that number just continues to grow across the entire state, now undersupplied in totality by 98,000 units by their estimate. And this situation is not improving. We have had 3 really strong years of production in 2022 through 2024. The latest number that we have is the trailing 12 months from Q3 of 24, which shows 10,000 new units of metro area apartments. But when we start looking at the permit numbers and what is in the pipeline for new deliveries in 2025 and 26, we're seeing a precipitous decline. And the 2026 numbers are really shocking, that we could see very little other than what has been subsidized through federal and state support being delivered to the market. Now, a mitigating factor with this is we have very low population growth. We actually had some contraction for a period of time. Demographics are working in our favor long term. I don't think it's going to ultimately solve our undersupply problem, but it is mitigating some of those undersupply challenges. What's some good news? Well, the good news that we have had in Minnesota has been median wage growth, both in real dollar terms and inflation adjusted dollar terms, which is what this chart shows. And even today, I've been told that for developers that are here at the National Multifamily Council meeting, this is a narrative that's attracting investor attention nationally, that we have seen strong wage growth that has outperformed rent growth, which means increasing housing affordability in the rental market. If you look here, you can see that Minneapolis was one of the markets where we saw both rent growth and wage growth that outpaced rent growth, which means we at least had some small capacity to absorb some of these inflationary costs that are hitting operations. But we also had renters who could absorb that rent growth because they had wage growth, and in fact, they had wage growth that outpaced that rent growth. So that's a tailwind. Hopefully that will create some investor attention, but clearly not in the immediate term, because as I showed you with those 2026 numbers, we really are going to have very few deliveries of new housing in the rental market. And then in terms of rent affordability, which my colleague Paul Egger from the Realtors have pointed out, there's real significant challenges in home ownership. But the tailwind is, in our market, is renter affordability. There has been price stability there. It's a good option. It's a stable pricing option for renters in Minnesota to rent their home. And that trend line has been very steady like that, and very affordable, especially when you compare us nationally, where we have had under 3% rent growth for a very, very long time. And that stable pricing is both good for renters, and it also means for investors that there are steady rent growth terms that can be built into any forecasting. And for our industry, consistency and stability in the market is essential for people to make these huge capital investments in new rental housing. So I want to thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to talk to you and the committee today, and be pleased to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. I do not have your presentation in our packets, and I'm wondering, you had a lot of data on there, a lot of metrics I'm sure would be valuable as part of the conversation. Is that something that you could forward to myself or to staff that we could?
We did send it last week, Mr. Chair, but we'll send it again.
Oh, perfect, okay. Thank you. And Mr. Smith, one of the things that you had in the slide you just spoke about was the pipeline. And so could you describe how is it that there is visibility into the pipeline, that we know that the number of units coming on, just for those on the committee who may not be aware, how we're able to decipher, again, what's going to be built for multifamily production in the next 2 to 3 years?
So, you know, obviously the pipeline for creating housing takes many years, and one of the final steps is building permit issuance. Building permit issuance means that between 12, 18 to 24 months, usually around 18 months, is when we can expect that new housing to arrive. So when we start looking now at building permit issuance and looking backwards, we can make a very, very reasonable prediction about what will be delivered in 2025 and into 2026, certainly the first 2 quarters of 2026. But the trend lines are very real, that building permits are not being issued, and we're not anticipating that will change in the current interest rate environment. And I should say the biggest headwind that we have, which Mr. Ego reiterated, is interest rates. This interest rate environment makes it very, very challenging, along with the operational costs and challenges to underwrite the formation of multi-housing.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. And yes, with all of the headwinds coming at the cost, and that's definitely, we're seeing that play out then with this pipeline. And it's actually quite frightening to consider the precipitous drop that's going to be happening in the lack of construction in the next 2 years. Very, very concerning. Well, thank you again, Mr. Smith. Are there any members that have questions? I don't see any hands, so thank you once again. And the next on our agenda is Alex Horowitz with Pew Trusts. Mr. Horowitz, are you online, or make your way forward if you're in person?
Thank you. Indeed, I'm online.
Thank you. And please introduce yourself for the record and proceed.
Great. Thank you. Alex Horowitz. I'm at the Pew Charitable Trusts. I'm the director of our Housing Policy Initiative. Thank you to the chairs. Thank you to the committee. Sorry I can't be with you in person. And I have some slides to share with you today, although some of the information that I was planning to share with you, the realtors and Housing First and the Multifamily Housing Association have shared as well. So I will move quickly through that onto other topics that haven't been covered. For background, as you heard, especially from the realtors, inventory is awfully low. And in 2018, the market was still tight, but this is a 30% decline from 2018. And any time that we see inventory get low like that, we're just in a permanent seller's market. So it's no surprise that home prices are up 38% since the end of 2018. And as you've heard from prior presenters today, that pushes first-time homeownership out of reach. And indeed, the age of becoming a first-time home buyer is at its highest ever. And a median income household does indeed struggle now to afford a median priced home because prices have increased so much in the face of the housing shortage, but rents work exactly the same way. Anyone who's ever bought or sold a home knows that when there's not much out there, that's a seller's market. When there's a lot out there, it's a buyer's market. Well, when home occupancy rates get very high, that's a landlord's market. When there's a lot of inventory out there to rent, that's a tenant's market. And we have been in a landlord's market for a long time because we're simply not building enough housing to keep up with the need for it. And that has pushed rents up because rents work just the same way as prices. How has this affected Minnesota renters? Well, most recent data, we see that 49% of Minnesota renters were spending more than 30% of their income on rent, which is the cutoff for being rent burdened. 26% of Minnesota renters spending more than 50% of income on rent. That puts households at serious risk, where they can't pay their other bills, They're at elevated risk of eviction. They're at elevated risk of homelessness. Just in 2019, those figures were lower, 42% instead of 49%, 21% severely rent burdened instead of 26%. So what's going on? Restrictive zoning is the primary reason why not enough housing is coming online. And that also affects household budgets in other ways. Housing policy affects transportation costs more than transportation policy affects transportation costs. Vehicle miles traveled go up when people aren't allowed to live close to the places they go every day because homes can't be built there, because there are bans on apartments, there are bans on townhouses, there are bans on duplexes, there are bans on condos. That pushes up not just housing costs, but transportation costs too, and causes sprawl and environmental degradation. It's not just that we don't have enough homes, we don't have the right types of homes for what people are seeking. 63% of US households have 1 or 2 people in them. That's an all-time high. But only 23% of our housing stock is multifamily. This is a mismatch, but it's not a mismatch that's being driven by builders, by consumers. It's being driven by local regulations putting a heavy thumb on the scale in favor of single-family detached housing on large lots with off-street parking and restricting other types of housing to very limited areas by not allowing apartments on corridors, by not allowing townhouses on most land, because townhouses take up less land and they're much more efficient to build. Where are the starter homes? Look, it's only been about 40 years since we were getting plenty of starter homes. And at this point, very few are coming online. As you heard prior from the witness at Housing First today, the main reason is restrictive-based zoning that makes starter homes difficult to build. So if we were doing this a decade ago, I would have said to you, hey, look, every analyst out there says if you get more supply out there, if you make it more of a buyer's market, more of a tenant's market, that's going to improve affordability. That will lower housing costs. We won't have this scarcity that is causing competition and driving up prices. But, you know, we don't really have the data to say because it hasn't been tried in enough places. That's not true anymore. We've got enough jurisdictions that have made big changes, Minneapolis among them, that have made it easier to build apartments, especially on commercial corridors, near transit, often by reducing parking minimums and enabling apartments as a matter of right in downtown areas and on commercial corridors. So in Minneapolis, New Rochelle, Portland, Oregon, Tysons, Virginia, they all did some version of the same thing. Reducing parking requirements and making apartments a by right use in commercial areas or near transit. Well, all of them started adding housing at more than double the rate of the US overall. And when rents went up 30% in the US over the 6-year period, rents went up between 0 and 5% in these jurisdictions, even though all 4 of them added a greater share of households than the US during this time. These results, this sharply improved affordability, was not driven by low demand. It was driven by making it easier to build, especially apartments. We look at the 4 biggest cities in the US, and going back to 2000, we see that New York, LA, Chicago all lost Black residents. They all displaced Black residents because they were adding an average of less than 0.7% a year to their housing stock. Some of these cities tried rent control or inclusionary zoning and other programs, but they didn't make it easy to build. By contrast, Houston made it easy to build. They reduced their lot size minimum from 5,000 square feet to 1,400 square feet, and they got 80,000 townhouses out of that. Most of those are affordable to middle-income households. As a result, they were able to add Black residents. They didn't see the displacement that occurred in the other largest cities, and they added Hispanic residents too. Not allowing enough housing displaces residents. There's simply no way out of it because it creates more competition for each home. The housing shortage is hurting everyone. It's driving up rents, as we've heard about today. But it doesn't affect everyone in the same way. We have a new analysis at Pew. We took every zip code in Zillow and coded it by income. And we looked at the rent changes in those zip codes. In the lowest income quarter of zip codes in the US, rents rose 62% over the past 7 years versus 44% in the highest income quarter of zip codes. Why is that? Well, when there aren't enough homes getting added in high income neighborhoods, high income residents move into middle income neighborhoods. They tend to outbid the competition for their homes because they can, because they have more money. Middle income residents move into low income neighborhoods, and they tend to outbid existing residents for their homes because they can, because they have more money. What do low income residents do? There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go. So we see more displacement. We see people getting pushed out of high opportunity markets. We see a record homelessness in the US, new data out last month showing an all-time high of over 770,000 Americans homeless. And most commonly, we see struggling households stuck with rent increases that they really can't afford. 62% over 7 years. This is what happens when we've got a shortage. Shortages aren't just harmful, they're regressive. Well, there's a way out. There are markets that had enough apartments come online in 2023 to actually push down rents. Now, most of the new apartments were fancy. Yes, we're talking about buildings with a pool on the roof or a dog wash or a yoga room or coffee in the lobby. Well, having those apartments come online, even though they're fancy, meant that there was enough housing getting built that landlords had to compete for tenants. That pushed down rents. But interestingly, it actually pushed down Class C rents. For Class C is older, naturally affordable buildings with fewer amenities. Class C rents dropped more than Class A rents in all of these markets. How? Well, when there's enough housing out there getting built in high-income neighborhoods, that means high-income residents don't push into middle-income neighborhoods. Middle-income residents don't push into low-income neighborhoods. That takes the pressure off the housing stock, and it benefits low-income residents the most. The economist Evan Mast, who's at Notre Dame now, and he was at the Upjohn Institute, he did a paper looking at what happens when fancy new apartment buildings get built in high-income areas, and found that the people who move into them indeed come from higher income zip codes. But the homes they vacate, the residents who move into those come from less affluent zip codes. And the homes those people vacate come from slightly less affluent zip codes. And the homes those people vacate, well, it's actually most of the residents who move into those are coming from low-income zip codes. So when 100 new fancy apartments get built in a high-income neighborhood, that frees up about 70 homes in lower-income neighborhoods because people move between neighborhoods. Shortages aren't just harmful, they're regressive. Housing costs are what is driving homelessness. We see that in the markets where rents went up the most during this 5-year time period, homelessness went up the most too. In some markets, including Minneapolis, enough housing came online that it held down rent growth. And the effect of that was that homelessness dropped in those markets. When we look at Minneapolis was building at about triple the rate of the rest of Minnesota during this 5-year time period that we examined. And that meant that rent growth in Minneapolis was far lower than in the rest of the state, and homelessness dropped in Minneapolis at the same time it was going up in the rest of Minnesota. Helpfully, it took about 87% of the area median in Minneapolis to afford median rent in 2017. By 2022, it only took 72% of the area median income to afford the median rent in Minneapolis. Enough housing was getting built to help push down rents. So we are seeing states step in, and that makes sense because this is a matter of statewide importance, and the housing shortage is everywhere. Enabling accessory dwelling units, legalizing multifamily housing in commercial areas, making it easier to build apartments near commerce, simplifying permitting, allowing the use of factory-built housing, limiting parking mandates, and allowing home sharing. Many jurisdictions have laws banning home sharing. Only a few unrelated people can live together. Also legalizing micro units. Office buildings are not converting that well into apartments. they convert much better into dorm-style housing. And it was rare for states to take these types of actions. From 2012 to 2016, we only saw an average of 1 a year passed in a state anywhere in the US. 2017 and 2022, we're talking about 18 a year on average. The last 2 sessions, 48 a year. States are getting involved because this is a matter of statewide importance. And let me wrap up by sharing that we don't often see policies that are this popular across party lines. But whether we're looking at Republicans, Democrats, or independents, policies to allow more housing are overwhelmingly popular with the public. Many people who show up at community meetings don't feel the same way. Research has found that those folks who do come to community meetings often are highly unrepresentative of their communities. And so the processes we use to gather feedback sometimes end up reinforcing the views of a minority, even though allowing more housing is indeed popular. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Horwitz. And one of the reoccurring themes, members, that we're seeing in all these presentations is lack of supply, lack of supply, lack of supply. And I am reminded of a media I just saw on social media, I believe it was yesterday or it might have been this morning, where it showed 2 lines, the housing supply, I think it was the supply or prices as an average for every other part of the country compared to, it must have been prices compared to Florida and Texas, and there's a precipitous drop because they have way overbuilt. Now, overbuilding is not necessarily something I'm promoting, but I think it demonstrates in the extreme that when there's greater supply, housing prices or prices in general, whether they be rents or whatever it might be, come down. That's clearly demonstrated, not just with that social media graphic, but history. More supply equals lower prices or lower cost. So thank you once again. Members, are there any questions for Mr. Horwitz? Seeing none, thank you. And next on the agenda is Ms. Kelleher from the Builders Association of Minnesota, and it's my understanding that KC Chermak is going to be joining Ms. Kelleher from Pillar Homes at the same time. So please identify yourselves for the record and proceed.
Well, thank you, Chairman Lucero, Chairport. It is a pleasure to be in front of you this afternoon. I'm Grace Kelleher, Executive Vice President of the Builders Association of Minnesota. For over 50 years, BAM has been the voice of Minnesota's residential construction industry. We represent a diverse membership of home builders, remodelers, developers, and a vast network of professionals who support them, from subcontractors and suppliers to realtors and financial institutions. Our reach extends statewide with 9 local associations working tirelessly to address the unique needs of their communities. We also collaborate with a powerful national organization to advocate for policies that benefit our industry on a broader scale. I'm here today with BAM member and past president, KC Chermak, so he can share his perspective on the critical issues facing Minnesota's housing market and to share some recommendations for building a stronger, more vibrant future for our state. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chair Lucero and Chair Port, and esteemed members of the Senate Housing Committee, my name is Casey Chermak. I have been a builder here in the Twin Cities now for 30 years. My home building company's name is Pillar Homes, and I have seen the housing industry change before my very eyes. I'm kind of the guy, I'm not dressed like it, but I have the hammer in my hand and feet on the ground, out in the mud every day. As a matter of fact, my favorite part of building is the excavation. Dirt's flying and things are happening. As I sit here today, I have 4 points that I wanted to bring to your attention, most of which you've heard today, and I'll try to just put a perspective on it that is the small guy, the builder that takes a lot, tries to turn it from 1 into 2, so there's more density. So I'm going to try to put some practical insight to what you're hearing today in the real world. First on my checklist here to talk about is building codes and simplifying them as much as possible. We are, and I am a proponent of a statewide building code. I think unification of our builders and kind of having the same systems throughout the state is extremely important. In the cities, we do have statewide building codes and permits and applications for building. It's not as common in outstate, and we would encourage that at some point, if possible, that there was statewide building codes and permitting. It could easily be done. I know that may sound not that that's the case, but it is. Between a live online registration, video inspections, and there are plenty of inspectors. I'm in a local city right here in the Twin Cities, building 2 homes right now in the western suburbs, and they do not have their own inspectors. There's independent companies that have been organized, and the cities contract with them. The inspectors do the inspection either in person or video, and it unifies our building industry, protects the homeowners, and actually puts our clients, the homeowners, are accessible to the contractor recovery fund if for whatever reason it was needed during the process. Land scarcity, that seems to be the common theme that's going on in here. In my world, that's called the variance. Variance used to be a very negative word, and in my world, it's not anymore because it means creativity. And almost everyone sitting here before you or on the teleprompter is talking about deviations or variances or ways to be more creative with the housing stock. Absolutely innovative ways that can be handled, and hopefully would encourage you to continue to find ways to make that happen. What ends up happening in our world is the costs are driven up, and those costs have to be passed on to a homeowner or our clients that we're building for. Third on my checklist is a workforce emergency that we see. Enough trades to handle the building that is going on and the building that hopefully is unleashed and brought to the fore. We need vocational training programs, and they're starting to surface more, and anything that your side can help us with to get young people interested in our projects, our housing, and the creations that we work on. Now that means a new home, a remodel, in addition to a house. All of those things are exciting. What I have found in the trades is they like the start and the finish that comes with building a home. We have a vision, we have a goal, we have a start, we have a finish, and somebody takes occupancy or there's a new project that changes the format of the house. That's very exciting, and we're starting to attract more people into the industry, but we would need some assistance if possible. Fourth, whatever can happen just to make sure the cost of building and the products are getting outrageous. We're doing our best. We're just starting to see it flatten out a little bit in our marketplace, but it is something that is very critical, and anything that can be done with making sure tariffs don't take off here is going to be critical to our industry. First and foremost, it has to do with Canada, and again, it's just to be top of mind. Lumber, we can't build without lumber, and Canada is our first and foremost for the supplier of lumber. As I sit here, the land development is first and foremost the most important part of what we're talking about here in every presentation, and the flexibility that we need to do that is critically important. Our building industry has a multiplier effect, and that's how I describe it. So every dollar that we can get into the marketplace affects all kinds of other companies that can reciprocate and grow their businesses, pay taxes, live in houses or apartments or whatever they're looking to do. So the multiplier effect is very, very, very substantial. I brought this just in today as a visual. You don't need to review this with me at all, but this is a spreadsheet on every project that we do for our houses. And every single item here, which is up to 40 individuals or companies that work on our homes, is the multiplier effect where our money trickles through to when we do a project. And that in turn grows their families, their credibility, and their love for the industry. And what's really important to remember is when you sit here on that side, realize that what you can do for us or help us generate that multiplier effect, it's immense. I'll give you a classic example. In a western suburb, there's a piece of land that sat for 20 years after a home burned down on it. Finally, doing it in the state, I was able to take it under ownership, and I turned it into 2 properties. I did have extensive paperwork that I had to go through the city. The variance process was not easy. I had over $100,000 laid out for 2 years because of all the escrows the city made me put in, the application fees, legal fees that were my own, legal fees the city made me pay of their legal fees and their consultants fees. At the end of the day, I was 2 properties, 2 new homes, and I call it a long-term annuity for the state of Minnesota in the city that it was built in. Because there's property taxes, they pay utilities, they pay water, they pay sewer, they pay for garbage. All of those things are the multiplier effect that I'm asking you to continue to assist with, but really is a multiplier effect for everything you're hearing on every presentation that's taking place here. So I've been a member of BAM, the Builders Association of Minnesota. We're statewide, we have tentacles all over the state. I'm also a member of Housing First, that's the local. And my local is Housing First, and I'm super proud to be a member of them. I'm also a real estate agent, and I'm a member of the real estate board that presented here today. So every tentacle that I try to touch affects the marketplace as much as possible. We take all the money that we earn, we create, we take that multiplier effect that we try to create, and we put it right back into our next development. So any money that we bring in and we create on our projects, we have to take a very large portion of that and put it right back into our next development to keep the cycle going and the opportunities available. It's an exciting process. We sign up for it, but it is something that we all have to learn to play with and do. So I think that's all my notes. We continue to reinvest in our industry, and I hope what I'm saying is helpful for future decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And as a technologist, I'm always interested in the innovations of what happens. This is the first time I am hearing, though, a remote inspection. Very intriguing, but certainly a cost saver as we continue to drive towards efficiencies and finding innovative and creative ways to reduce those costs. And so I definitely am going to look into that a little bit more as well. And likely I am familiar with the West Metro subcontracting company that you were referencing there. I've used them quite a bit. They're very professional, and I very much appreciate their work. With that, members, questions? Chair Port.
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Chairman. I'm wondering if you can just talk a little bit about, the possibility that we would be facing significant tariffs. I think has, as you insinuated, a very large impact on the housing community, the building community. Can you talk a little bit about the day-to-day of what that would look like, for instance, for you and your development priorities?
Well, probably first and foremost is going to be the price implications that are going to be affected. So out of the chutes, there's no way to really know the actual jump in actual product, but it will be prevalent. I would say the supply would be the first thing that's going to be affected. So I know that, I'll give you an example of lumber yards. When we had a tightening of product that was available years ago, the lumber yard that I get most of my product from had to limit who they would sell lumber to, because they had to prioritize past clients who put their heart and the soul to creating a relationship and had business with them. So new clients were limited, and it created a cycle of a log jam that was perpetual for other companies or companies looking to get product to actually do projects.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairmark. I appreciate that. And as we see a rollout of potential federal policies that affect your business in that way, we'd appreciate if you'd keep the committee updated.
Absolutely.
Members, any further questions for Mr. Chairman? Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Kelleher, for your presentations. And next on my list is Mr. Lightfoot with the League of Minnesota Cities. Mr. Lightfoot, please introduce yourself for the record and proceed.
Hopefully that's going to work. Well, perfect. Thank you, Chair Lucero, Chair Port, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Daniel Lightfoot with the League of Minnesota Cities. The League represents the collective interests of 841 cities in the state of Minnesota. We have a statewide reach. You heard from one of our affiliate organizations today, the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities. All of their members are our members. It's great to be with you to talk a little bit today about how the state and cities across this state can partner in addressing the concerns and the challenges that we've been hearing about today, all of which are shared by local units of government across the state. In addition to some of the specifics on housing, I do love this slide because I think it's really illustrious of the makeup of cities in the state of Minnesota. When we talk about statewide policy that impacts all 856 states in Minnesota, it's important to understand that the vast majority of cities in this state are very small in population. We have 82% of cities in this state have a population of 5,000 or less. Almost half, 42%, have a population of 500 or less, leaving a population of 25,000 for the rest. And so we do have a lot of very small communities in this state. So when we think about statewide legislation that has a far-reaching impact on how cities operate, for example, do planning and zoning, prepare residential lots for development, it impacts those cities differently. How a city in like Baudette does planning and zoning for residential development is going to look a whole heck of a lot different than Bemidji or Rochester or St. Cloud or Anoka. And so I think it's important for this committee to remember the scalability and the applicability of those policies need to fit within those individual communities. And so when you have a statewide framework for anything that impacts cities equally, it's important to have that scalability. We've heard a lot about zoning today, and I imagine Chair Lucero and Chair Port, we're going to hear a lot more about zoning this session in both this committee and most likely the State and Local Government Committee. And we've had lots of conversations over the past 6 years or so on this topic. But I want to talk a little bit about, the importance of local zoning authority and local zoning in this state. Zoning really is a tool that remains a critical tool to balance property usage at the city level on its face. It allows cities to incentivize certain types of structures, which often do include higher density multifamily housing, but it also allows communities to plan for the use of parcels, the use of land within their jurisdiction to ensure the highest and best use of that property. That process also involves local residents who have a vested interest in opining and having their issues raised at a local level because they are impacted by how the community around them looks. And so, but I do want to specify that often we do have zoning and land use regulations that do address things like density and affordability. You have cities, not just in the Twin Cities Metro, but across the state of Minnesota that have taken an inward look to address some of their zoning and land use ordinances to do things like incentivize higher density, ensure affordability. But when we take a broad approach, a statewide approach that is potentially overly rigid, you lose the ability for individual communities to tailor those approaches to their own communities. And so as this conversation continues, we would encourage that that any type of state framework allows for options and choice and scalability so that local electeds can work with their communities to identify the zoning and land use policies that best impact and best help their own individual communities. If I grabbed a zoning map from St. Cloud and Senator Putnam's district and put it next to Mankato or put it next to Burnsville, it's going to look a whole heck of a lot different. And so there needs to be scalability and tailorability to whatever we're talking about, and also the opportunity for residents to continue to be engaged in that process. Numerous cities across this state have done a lot of work on their own individual zoning and land use ordinances, and that work has been done with community engagement. And so ensuring that we don't have a statewide framework that replaces that work that has already been done by a community who has expended resources and time to address zoning and land use perspectives at the local level with local engagement. And I want to point out we do have in the Twin Cities area, cities in which the vast majority of permits are pulled for new starts for housing in this state. There's almost 90% of those cities have at least one district that allows for a residential property with a quarter acre or less for that property, and over 60% allow for a fifth acre or less. So we do have we do have cities that are working on addressing the density perspective, both on the single family side and on the multifamily side of things, to help spur development. And we know from a local government perspective that we play a very big role in addressing this challenge. We want to continue to work on this issue and work with this committee to address those things, but having the ability to be sensitive to some of those differences is really key. As we think about housing goals this session from a city perspective, I think it's really important that we think about four, key factors here. Number one is encompass the entire spectrum of housing. You heard from the gentleman from Pew Charitable Trust who didn't, talk solely about new single-family detached owner-occupied housing, but also talked about multifamily housing as well. And in any city across the state, we need to ensure that there is a balance of housing stock. So there is adequate rental, there's adequate single family, and that's where a zoning map takes shape, where you have identified uses for areas, for example, close to public transit or close to a downtown area, where that higher density probably makes a lot of sense. And you see that reflected in many city zoning and land use maps across the state. In addition to that, supporting innovation at the local level. We want to make sure that legislative solutions that we discuss this session ensure that we're bolstering the local efforts that have taken place to address zoning and land use and other aspects of housing, and not replace those efforts with a more sort of heavy-handed approach that would be required equally across all 856 cities. And then, as I said before, factoring in market differences across the state of Minnesota. As you heard from Ms. Wafel, the challenges and the solutions in greater Minnesota are going to look a lot different than in the 7-county metro area, and we want to make sure that the conversations reflect that as well. And then at the end of the day, incentivizing local innovation as well to continue, I think, a lot of what's happening at the local level, which is cities being an incubator for great policy. The down payment assistance program that was passed by the legislature in 2023 is a perfect example of that. That idea came from a city who was doing that already before the state did. And so continuing to incentivize that local innovation. I want to include this slide too, because I think a lot of the conversation around zoning and land use is sort of a doom and gloom and stormy, but there are many cities across the state that are meeting the moment through local innovation, and I think it's important to reflect that. As we think about additional discussions in 2025 during this session, there are a few priorities that I want to highlight. First of all, I want to acknowledge Chair Port, Chair Lucero, Senator Draheim, who have been involved in these conversations for a number of years. We continue to show up in good faith to identify our concerns, but also understand that we want to work together to find a path forward for something that not only works for developers, but also works for cities in terms of balancing those uses and ensuring we have adequate development. And so I appreciate the continued conversation last session, over the interim, and already during this session. Iterations of legislation that was proposed last session did reflect a number of our concerns that were brought up last session, and we hope that that partnership will continue, and you will see us continuing to engage in that conversation as those bills go forward. And then, of course, ensuring that the concepts that we discussed this session, have some of that sensitivity in mind in terms of state support of potentially a locally driven framework of options, where we're shifting the conversation sort of down the decision tree a little bit, rather than creating a mechanism where all communities are treated equally. We have potentially a state-driven framework that allows for some tailoring and some local decision-making authority so that communities can structure that in a way that best fits their own individual community. And we don't sort of flip on its head the way that cities guide land and do zoning and land use for development now. And then lastly, I think, and most important, and not most importantly, but really importantly, ensuring that we have conversations on production that include both the overall production side of things, the overall housing production side of things, period, sort of the market rate driven response, but also a conversation around how do we get right now affordable units. I think it was interesting, the slide that the gentleman from Pew shared about Minneapolis. And I think what is sort of illustrative about some of that data is that it is true that the rent stabilization and rent increases sort of leveled off with that level of production. But what is also true is that over the period of 2017 to 2022, the lowest income renters in the city of Minneapolis actually saw rent increases of 14%. And so I think we have to think about both the sort of the filtering effects that we hear a lot about in terms of, 1, 2, 3, 5 years down the road, but also how do we incentivize affordable units and affordable housing now? And I think we have to have both conversations on that as we think about this. We're also going to be talking this session about modifying some existing programs. We know that money is going to be tight. Some programs that we'd like to seek some modification on, the state housing tax credit to better align that with Greater Minnesota in terms of market rate projects. Local affordable housing and statewide affordable housing aid, potentially to allow some of that funding to be utilized for zoning and land use updates. Those updates are not without cost. Some tax increment financing flexibility, and then as Cecil pointed out, potentially an adaptive reuse tax credit where we could take underutilized buildings, commercial industrial buildings, and provide some state assistance to adapt those buildings into residential. And then lastly, on a resource perspective, of course, making sure that we have a robust housing infrastructure bond ask, and then preventing any reduction in the Minnesota housing budget, of which there are many programs that cities benefit from. With that, Chair Lucero, Chair Port, and members, I'm happy to stand for questions as well.
Thank you, Mr. Lightfoot. We have about 10 minutes remaining, members, 9 minutes remaining. And so I know we have at least one more testifier on the list, but just being sensitive to time, are there any questions? None that I see, Mr. Lightfoot, so thank you again for your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
And I know even though there may not be questions right now, there certainly will be questions as we continue the conversation. So,
Mr. Chair, that sounds good. You know where to find me.
Yes. And last on my list is, and I'm a habitual butcherer of names. Let's see, it's Miss Njolobole. How close am I?
A little close, pretty good for first time.
All right.
I did it.
I won't even try to say it again, but I wanted to thank you for joining. And you are from the Center of the American Experiment. So please identify yourself for the record and proceed.
All right. Thank you, Chair Lucero. Thank you, Chair Port. My name is Martha Njolobole from Center of the American Experiment. For those of you who are not familiar with American Experiment, we are a public policy think tank. We do wide-ranging research on a lot of issues, from taxes, spending, childcare, education policy, all the way to public safety, and I'm here to talk about with you housing as well. Now, as the last speaker, I have the misfortune of repeating what most of previous speakers have already said. But with that in mind, I would like to get a little personal with you as a young person and share why this issue is especially salient to me. I don't know how many of you have been on Zillow lately, but as I'm pushing 30, I find myself using Zillow more than I do Instagram. And every time I go on that app, I realize how further and further away the dream of home ownership is slipping away from me, especially the last 2-3 years. And I don't mean to exaggerate when I say this, but many a times I have often felt like the only way I would be able to afford a house is if for a whole year I didn't buy food, I didn't buy clothes, I didn't pay my rent, just so for the next year I'll be able to have money saved enough for a down payment. Now, as you can see on this chart, I'm not the only young person in Minnesota feeling this way. At American Experiment last year, we did a survey where we asked young Minnesotans between the ages of 18 to 34 what kind of issues are most concerning to them. And outside of childcare, housing was one of the biggest issues facing young people. To be specific, over 80% of young people in Minnesota are concerned about their ability to buy a house. Now, of course, some of this is because we have high interest rates at the moment, as the Federal Reserve Bank is fighting inflation. But when we do look at Minnesota compared to other areas around us, other comparable metro regions, what we see by and by is that we are one of the most expensive places to buy a house, especially when you take out the coastal areas in this country. So here's a map I have showing the 10 biggest metro regions in the US after you take out the coastal areas. So the Twin Cities Metro was number 4. So this is the median home price in the last quarter of last year. If you go on the market, this is data from Realtor.com. That price was $424,000. The only other 3 places that did worse than us were Phoenix, Denver, and Dallas. If you go to Chicago, that price is going to be at least $40,000 cheaper. And then if you go to St. Louis, it's going to be over $100,000 cheaper. Same with Atlanta and a lot of other places. Here's another chart showing metros in the Midwest. So these are the cities that we are most likely going to resemble when it comes to demographics, weather, and stuff like that. As you can see here, looking at the 10 biggest, the Twin Cities was the most expensive in dollar terms. So this is, again, last quarter of 2024. When you adjust that for income, we do better on the rank, but still we are the 4th most expensive metro in the Midwest. So that is taking the median home price to median household income. That ratio is 4.6. Now, just to illustrate on this, if we were to have the same home price to income ratio as Cleveland, which is the most affordable metro on this chart, housing in the Twin Cities would have to be $120,000 cheaper than it is right now. Again, so why is this an issue? A lot of the previous presenters have alluded to this. A lot of times when I'm reading the news, I do get a lot of non-reasons being given. There's a lot of blame on corporate investors, for instance. Some people do blame weather in the Midwest, but again, if you're looking at places like North Dakota, South Dakota, these are more affordable than we are, and they have the same weather. Corporate investors do not make such a huge proportion of the housing market. So again, we are left with one fact, which is at both the state and local level in Minnesota, we have rules that make it impossible for developers to build certain kinds of housing in certain places. They do delay the housing construction process. And to the extent that you do have a house that you finally get to the market, it is going to cost tens and thousands of dollars more than it otherwise would. So just to give a couple of examples, I'm going to apologize. I do have a different format of the PowerPoint than what I have in front of you, so I've been skipping some because I was told I would only have 7 minutes, so I apologize for that.
If your presentation is 7 minutes, so you'll bring us right to the bottom of the hour, so that'll be good.
All right. Okay. So just to talk a little bit about some of these rules, we have the state building code that is hundreds and hundreds of pages, essentially dictating the structure design of the house. We have rules in there about wall design and construction. And then, of course, we have energy efficiency standards. They tell developers to use certain kinds of light bulbs or to reach a certain level of efficiency with the HVAC system. And then, of course, we have local rules, which really are at the heart of this issue. We have zoning in a lot of places. A lot of land is restricted to single-family detached homes. And then we have land use requirements whereby a lot of lots have to reach a minimum size. And as one of the previous speakers said, what that does is it forces developers to ask for variance from local governments, which essentially puts them at the mercy of local governments, whereby they get a lot of demands that they have to fulfill. A lot of these demands could range from using luxury materials, having to have their home designs approved, or even paying for private street maintenance. And then, of course, we have aesthetic mandates. Developers have to put stone at the fronts of starter homes. You go to areas like Shakopee, you have to have an extra window and stuff like that. They add tens and thousands of dollars to the cost of a new home. I think I am going to leave here with this last chart, which I think encapsulates the issue that we do have when it comes to housing in Minnesota. So this is a survey from our friends at Housing Affordability Institute. They did this survey in 2019, but I think that is true today as it was back then. So this is the price of a home in 2 different areas. So this house has the same builder, it has the same floor plan, it uses the same materials. The only difference is one of them is in Hudson, Wisconsin, and the other one is in Lake Como, Minnesota. And the one in Minnesota is $47,000 more than the one in Wisconsin. Again, about half of that is because of the rules that we have on paper, essentially making housing more expensive. Now, we can argue, from sunrise to sunset about how important these rules are, how important zoning is, but what it is doing, and we can see this in the data, is that it is making housing less affordable for Minnesotans, especially young people my age who are trying to settle down and start families. And unless those rules change, that is an issue we're going to keep having for years to come. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
Thank you so much for that. And I know there's at least one person in the audience who wanted to come up, so I'm trying to be as efficient as I can. Members, are there any questions? Okay, thank you, Ms. Angelo Mole. Again, I'm a habitual butcher of names, and even after you say it 10 times, whatever the name is, I will get it. So thank you so much again. Are there any members of the audience that would like to come up and share a few thoughts on the topic of the overview of Minnesota? Okay, well, the one person that had expressed interest earlier this morning must not be here or has changed their mind. I appreciate it, members. Thank you so much for the listening to the overview. Thank you for all of the testifiers who presented this morning or this afternoon. And we do have some serious work to do as we continue to drive greater supply for housing and making it more affordable for all of Minnesota. With that, seeing no further business before the committee, we're adjourned.